Welcome back to my channel. I am Priska Osegali, the lead instructor at Gold Imperial Academy, where we teach interested persons how to draft their own patterns from scratch and how to become better garment makers. Today, we are taking a look at this beautiful design. It is a 3-tier dress, okay? Now, there are two methods you can achieve this. You can achieve this using the slash and spread method. The other method is to use the method I'm going to be using now, and that is using the half circle method. However, you're not going to just cut everything, just half circle from the top to the bottom. I'm going to be showing you how you can use minimal fabric to achieve this design. Let's delve into this.
You are invited to Skill Up Sewing Lagos.
Hello, my name is Priska Osegali. I am the creative director at Gold Imperial and the lead instructor at Gold Imperial Academy, where we teach interested persons how to draft their own patterns from scratch and also how to become better garment makers. I would like to specially invite you to Skill Up Sewing happening live here in Lagos. Skill Up Sewing is a platform designed to build skillful fashion professionals. It will be happening at my Batco Hotels, Shogulet, Lagos, starting from 10 a.m. daily. We look forward to seeing you at this episode of Skill of Sewing. Skill of Sewing, giving you the edge you need. Before me here, I have my pattern paper. For these garments, you can use anything as your pattern. You can use calico or you can use your lining fabric. But for me, I'll be using this paper right here. I have secured extra paper so that I can have enough length for this dress. So this will be the length, okay? This will be the length, and I'll mark the other way. So let me show you would understand as we go. So first of all, the first thing you need to note is the round measurement, that is the waist measurement of your client. And you also need to know the dress length of your client alongside some other measurements that you would need to construct the bodies. But today we'll be focusing more on the bottom of the dress, okay? That is the skirt part of the dress. So first of all, I would like to draft a pattern using my paper so that I will now use it to cut on my fabric. Remember, what we are doing is trying to use minimal fabric to achieve the 3-tier design. So here I have my paper. First thing first, the waist of my client is 32. Then the length of her dress is 40. Then her round waist measurement is 32. So you have to find the radius of that round waist measurement, okay? That round waist measurement 32, you would divide that by 3.14, and that gave me 10.19. So I'm going to just use 10.1. I'll note the measurements that are important for this pattern we're about to draft. The round waist measurement, which is 32, the half length, which is 16, the full dress length, that is the length we are working with, which is 40. So the radius for this waist 32 is 10.1. Now this is less the zipper allowance, okay? Perhaps we should just add the zipper allowance to it now. So for my zipper allowance, I'll use 3 inches at 1.5 on both sides. So that gives me 35. Dividing this by 3.14 to get my radius gave me 11.14. So I'll just use 11.1. Now my full length is 40. So 40 minus 16 gives me 24 for the bottom of the dress. Okay, so I have 24 now. I'll be working with this 24 for the length of my pattern. We have a video on how to construct your circles. I'll be linking that in the description box. So I wouldn't go in depth into that in this tutorial. I'll just go ahead and draft, okay, while showing you what I am doing. So first of all, we want to mark out our radius, which is 11.14. So we mark 11.14. That's 11.1. You have to be careful when you are marking. Then from that 11.1, I'm going to be marking 24. Remember, the bottom of the dress to be 24. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark my 24. Okay. So right here is my 24. So this is 24, okay, without any seam allowance. So because I want to mark all around my paper, I'm going to measure from this point all the way, okay? Make sure your tape rule lays well. I have 35.1, okay? So I'm going to be marking that 35.1 all through my pattern, okay? So that is what I'm going to do. Now, besides that, you can also mark your radius all the way and then mark from your radius to your measurement for the bottom of the dress. So just to make it easier, I'm going to place my tape rule at the tip like this, okay, and then mark that 35.1 all through my paper. So let me quickly do that. I'm done marking out my 35.1. So now I will connect all the points that I have marked out. So just connect all the way. All right, so this is my pattern now. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out my radius so that I can also cut that out. So my radius is 11.1 with my zipper allowance already added. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that out. Remember that I said that the video, a complete tutorial of how to cut circles, will be linked in the description box. So you can check that out so that you can find out how to make circles in case you are not used to that. All right, so here I have marked that out already. So I'm just going to connect my radius. Okay, so I have marked out the radius now, so I'm going to just cut this out. For this part, I would like to add my seam allowance already. Okay, I started cutting, but then I remember that I would like to add my seam allowance to this portion. Okay, so I'll just add my seam allowance. You can do 0.5, all right, because that is what I'll be using to join the bottom of the dress to the upper part of the dress, that is the bodice of the dress. So I'm cutting out now. I have my pattern now. Now, remember we're going to be having 3 tiers, all right? So our 24 will now be divided by 3. So if you're having 4 tiers, you will do divided by 4. Whatever the number of tiers you are doing, you will just divide by that number. So since I am doing 3, I'm going to be dividing by 3. So my 24, which is what I got when I subtracted my half length from the full length of the dress, will be divided by 3, and that gives me 8 inches. So I'm going to be marking 8 inches. I'm not marking from my seam allowance, okay? Then I'll mark 8 inches again. All right, so this gives me my 3 tiers. So I have 1, 2, 3, okay? Now remember, this is without any seam allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 8 inches all through, okay? I've divided my pattern now into 3. 1, 2, 3. So I've connected for the down parts. Okay, can you see? All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be separating this point. Okay, then I'll be using this upper part to cut my lining. So this lining will be the one to carry the second layer and also the third tier. Now let me go over this again. The bottom of the dress is 24 inches long. I have divided that into 3. So I have 8 inches, 8 inches, 8 inches, which I have already marked out. Now I want to separate the last tier from this pattern so that I can have just 1 and 2. Okay, so this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So I can have just 1 and 2. I'll be using this from here, from this seam allowance all the way to here to cut my lining. Now, thereafter, I will come back and separate the second tier after cutting my lining. So the lining will be the one carrying the second tier as well as the third tier. Do we understand that? So when I'm going to be cutting this third tier on my fabric, I will not just cut just this 8 inches. I'm going to be adding my hem allowance, okay? The allowance I'll use to hem this, I'll be adding it to it, as well as the allowance I'll be using to join it back. So I'll be adding roughly like 1 inch to this third tier. Now for the second tier, I'm going to be adding more than that because I'll need 0.5 to attach it to the lining. Remember, the lining is going to be carrying the second tier. So I'll need 0.5 to attach it to the lining, and I'll also need to hem it, okay, 0.5. Beyond the allowance that I'll need to attach it, I'll also need to push it a bit upward, like probably like 2 inches upwards. This will allow me attach it a bit upwards from the original position, which is 8 inches right here. So I'll be able to attach it like 2 inches above the 8-inch mark. Do we get that? So if I'm attaching at this point, when this first layer falls over it, you wouldn't know that there is something attached under here. You will feel that it is being attached at the round measurement, okay, to give a neat finishing. So I'll be adding 2 inches above, and then I'll also be adding some allowance so that it can fall over the third layer. Okay, so that means I'll add 2 inches here and probably another 2 inches for me to be able to hem, and also for it to be able to fall over the third tier. Do we get that? So I'm just going to separate at the third tier so that I can use this to cut on my fabric. Okay, so for this I'll be adding just seam allowance here 0.5 and also the hemming allowance 0.5. Okay, so that is it for the third tier. Then I'll be using this to cut for my lining. So let me quickly do that. So when you're cutting on your fabric, you put your fabric on fold before you place to cut. So I'll be cutting my lining first using this. So I have this now. I'll be using this to cut my lining, and then this for the third tier of the bottom part of the dress.
You are invited to Skill Up Sewing Lagos.
Skill Up Sewing is a sewing platform aimed at building skillful professionals, and you are invited to our upcoming seminar live in Lagos, tagged Skill Up Sewing Lagos.
With Master P, a unisex fashion tutor at Master P Fashion World, and Priska Oserale, the lead instructor at Gold Imperial Academy, where you'll be learning the professional way of making garments such as corsets, princess cut bustier, trouser, shirts, panel skirts, and much more.
As well as other professional aspects that will help build your fashion career. Date:
Monday 18th July to Friday 22nd July 2022.
time 10 a.m. Delhi. Venue:
Abatco Hotel, Oyegunwa Street, Shogule, Lagos State.
To participate, WhatsApp the numbers displayed on your screen now for seat reservation.
Okay, so here I have cut out my lining. I'll attach the third layer to the hem of the lining fabric. So now I'm going to connect the second layer and then separate it from the first layer, because I have to cut for the first and the second layer. So I'll show you how to place your fabric using the first layer now. Alright, so let me show you how to place your fabric. I have my first layer with me. Now please note that this is the center front and this is the center back. I forgot to note that when I was drafting the pattern. This is the center front and this is the center back. You place your center front on fold, okay? So you make sure that your center front is on the fold, okay? This is the fold of the fabric, you can see. So fold your fabric in two and then place your pattern like so, okay? So you place your pattern. Now for this first layer, we already added our seam allowance for joining it back to our waist, okay? So there won't be any need for seam allowance above. But for the hem, we'll be adding 2.5. Remember what I said? We need it to be longer so that it can fall over the second layer. And then for the second layer, we'll also be adding 2 inches above and then 2 inches plus the seam allowance again at the hem, okay? So I'll just mark this out now. Okay, so here we have the first layer. So I'm going to be cutting this out now. So you can see this now, okay? So when you attach the second layer underneath it, this whole allowance will be keeping that attachment hidden. So this is the second layer. You can see how I have cut it, okay? 2.5 inches above, 2.5 inches towards the hem. This is how we are going to arrange it when we are stitching. This is my lining fabric, okay? This is layer 3. So layer 3 comes here. Okay, that's layer 3 is joined here. Okay, remember that we have 0.5 inch seam allowance at the top. So this is what I'll do. I'll just mark 8.5. Okay, this is my 8.5 here. go up by 2.5 inch. Okay, so I'm going to mark my 8.5 all around and then go up from that point 2.5 inches. 8.5. Then from here I'll go up by 2.5 again. So that is how I'm going to mark it all around. I'm going to be stitching on the 2.5 inch mark, okay, like this. So this will be my second layer here. Okay, so the third layer will be here, okay, joined at the hem here. So you can see it is going to overlap this nicely so that even if this is open, it wouldn't show. You can see, okay, so all right, it will overlap it nicely. Okay, that is the reason why we added the seam allowance that we added. So we'll now place our first layer on the part where we'll be joining to our waist line. So this is the first layer. So the first layer stays here, right here. So the first layer will be joining to the waistline. You can see, okay, if you open this, you can see, all right, and this is the second layer and this is the third layer. If you do not want it to be up to this, you can reduce your allowance to like probably like 1.5 inch. So this is how it will look like. Can you see? First layer, second layer, third layer. So I'm going to go ahead and do all the stitching and then show you the final outcome on the body form.
Hello, my name is Anna Lupita, also known as Master P of Master P Fashion World. I am a unisex fashion designer and a tutor. On the 18th to 22nd July 2022, I'll be in Lagos for Skill Up Sewing Lagos. We'll see you there.
Alright guys, so we can see the finished garment. Okay, I have used this as the bottom of this beautiful dress right here. Okay, to see the tutorial of how we achieved that keyhole design, please check the description box. The link to that tutorial will be in the description box. Okay guys, I hope you love this. Remember, you can also use your full circle to create this garment. You can use a slash and spread, and you can use the half circle method just as I have used here. You can use this as a skirt, as a dress on its own, or as part of a dress just the way I have used it here. If you found this tutorial useful, please don't forget to like, share this tutorial. If you're yet to subscribe, please do so. And if you are a new viewer, please don't forget to like, share, and also subscribe. If you replicate this design using this tutorial, please don't forget to tag us. We are on Instagram as JGoldImperial and on Facebook as JGoldImperial. You can also join our community, Gold Imperial Academy, on Facebook. We have online courses on pattern drafting and offline courses on pattern drafting and garment construction that you can register for. Please reach us via bit.ly/goldimperial to begin your registration process. Till we come your way again, my name is Priska Osegali. Thank you for watching. Bye.